Well, a little while ago, the federal government here in Australia announced that there would be an inquiry into the COVID response, but they explicitly said that they were not going to be looking into any actions taken by any of the states. That automatically made the inquiry, I'm not going to say useless, but pretty jolly close to it. And a lot of people kicked up a stink about that because, well, why run a useless inquiry? We wanted something better and we weren't going to settle for something less. One of the people that wasn't terribly happy, and I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth, he can speak for himself, is John Ruddick MLC, a member of the Upper House or member of the Legislative Council for New South Wales. John, thank you so much for coming on.
Good to see you, Topher, and welcome back from the UK.
Oh, thank you. Now, you weren't happy with these terms of reference when you saw them, and why not? What's the point of an inquiry, and why was an inquiry that didn't include the actions of the states just insufficient?
Well, look, firstly, I was just unhappy that it was just going to be a miserly little inquiry, okay? Albo had all but promised us on 5 occasions there'd be a Royal Commission. Now, then, I think that the rumour is that the Labor premiers in Western Australia and Queensland, which are facing elections in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, they said, oh, no, Mr. Prime Minister, we don't want a COVID inquiry, Royal Commission, water this thing down. Okay, that's what he's done that, which is disgraceful. Now, we should have ideally had 7 COVID Royal Commissions, one into the federal government and one into each of the state governments, because each of the state governments ran their own show, did things differently. So let's work out what worked well and what worked bad. Now, when Albanese Prime Minister announced that there would be a COVID inquiry on the 21st of September this year, it explicitly said down the bottom, this inquiry will not look into the unilateral actions of the state governments. Well, guess what, Mr. Prime Minister? The state governments did 80% of the government's effort when it came to COVID. Okay, now the federal government closed borders, shipped in all the vaccines, did a few other things, but it was basically where the mechanics was done, where the logistics was done, it was down at the state government level, and they did different things. For example, in Victoria, they decided to have the longest lockdown in the world. Well, this needs to be looked into. And so that's what. Now, they have backtracked a little bit, which is good, and now they're saying that they're going to examine the state's inquiries. I think part of that, Topher, was simply that they realised there's not enough work here. Albo said it's going to go for a year. There's not enough work just to look into the federal government stuff. We do need to look into the state government stuff. But look, I have very, very, very low expectations on the whole thing, Topher, because the commissioner, or whatever, the boss of the inquiry, she says, oh, we don't want an adversarial courtroom-style approach. We want a round-table collegial approach. Okay, so I'm not confident that anything good's going to come of this. I think it's a whitewash.
Okay, but one of the criticisms of inquiries and one of the defences that a lot of politicians across state and federal governments are using against the idea of a royal commission, against the idea of an inquiry, is it's all kind of done now. The horse is bolted. It's mostly over, although, I mean, obviously we're seeing headlines now, new hospitalisations, people pushing for mask mandates. So it's clearly not over, at least not as far as the media are concerned. But the worst of it is over. There aren't lockdowns happening anymore. Almost all of the vaccine mandates have now been removed. So a lot of people are saying, well, what's the point? What could you possibly hope to get out of an inquiry, even a properly run royal inquiry, a royal commission that actually looks into things properly? What would you be hoping to even learn or find out?
I think there's a big chunk of Australians out there who just want to move on, sweep it under the carpet and forget it all happened. These are the people that just don't want to talk about COVID anymore because it was so ridiculous. And so many millions of Australians not only went along with it, but we're ringing up snitch lines to saying, oh, I think my neighbour's not wearing their mask properly outside, and garbage like this. No, we absolutely cannot move on from this. Well, firstly, they keep telling us, Topher, there's another pandemic and it's just around the corner, and it might be worse than COVID.
More headlines just today.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now I believe that this is hysteria continuing. I think some of these journalists miss COVID. Okay, like they miss the hysteria. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's true. Let's say there's a really bad pandemic around the corner. 10 times worse than COVID. Well, we should learn from how we reacted to it last time. Surely. And I mean that they've got no answer to that question. This is why we need a very thorough inquiry. And the other reasons we need to look into it are, of course, we've got out of control inflation because of COVID. Okay. We had massive human rights abuses during COVID. Okay. and the terms of inquiry says we're not going to look into the human rights abuses. That's not a factor. Well, that's a massive another hole in this inquiry. We need to have a proper examination, and I think a proper exam. And what Topher, one day in the next decade we will have it. The COVID fog will pass. There'll be a new government, and they'll say, we really do need to go back to that little chapter in our history and work out what went wrong. Now, people need to be censured at a minimum. Okay, and I think if people were falsifying data, to hype up the hysteria even more, and I think there's also this issue of the social media. Senator Alex Antic has, through a Freedom of Information, revealed that the federal government asked the social media companies to take down over 4,000 posts. Okay, so all this needs to be examined.
Many of those posts we know from that wonderful work by Senator Antic have proven to be true. They were at the time considered misinformation, but we've since learned that actually the information they contained was more accurate than a lot of the official information at the time. One of the questions that I think goes through a lot of people's minds is you're a politician, you're sitting in Parliament. A lot of people don't understand the reality of how that works, and they sit there and go, well, why don't you fix it? You're a politician, we elected you, you got in. How come you can't fix things?
Well, I can certainly make noise, and I've been doing my very best to make noise. But look, there's two chambers of Parliament in New South Wales. I'm in one of them, and at the moment, I'm the only Libertarian in there. Okay, now there are good people in the coalition. There's one or two in the Labor Party, and there's some others good on the crossbench. But really, I'm the only person who really got elected there on a sort of anti-COVID mania platform. So what we need to do is the answer to the people who may make that ask that question, a genuine question, is we need more people in Parliament. Now, in federal Parliament, I count 7 good senators. So that's the Liberal, National, UAP, and the One Nation senators. 7 of them have been very, very good on this issue.
Yep.
And they have been able to, work together and at least put up some good motions, get the rest of the Parliament to say, no, we don't want an inquiry into why there's excess deaths, etc. Okay, but look, at New South Wales, there's just the one of us. So I'm making as much noise as I can, Topher, and I intend to make a lot more.
Well, good on you for doing that. Now, I should touch on, actually, we're not far away from a by-election down in Victoria where your Libertarian Party colleague, Ethelyn King, who we interviewed in the last episode, she's thrown her hat into the ring. Again, there's a lot of people out there that don't really understand how politics works. She's running, and by her own admission, she's running without a lot of hope of really actually winning. It would be a pretty extraordinary twist of fate if she were to find herself actually successfully winning that seat. So the question that a lot of non-political people would ask is what's the point? Why would someone run, especially in a minor party situation like the Libertarian Party, without that confidence that, hey, I could actually win this?
Well, look, Ethelyn King is a magnificent candidate in Mulgrave. And now, look, we are hoping that she can get a good result. Now, you're probably right. She's probably not going to win. But I think a lot of people would probably agree with her small government agenda if they knew about it. So those people, and I think Ian Cook's quite popular, the independent. So I would encourage people to vote Ethelyn King number 1. Now, then if she doesn't win and you put the independent ahead of Labor, then you're getting 2 votes. But the more people that vote for the Libertarians and Ethelyn King, it demonstrates that, look, our party is growing, our party has got a future. I believe that we need to become, the Libertarian Party in this country needs to replicate what the ACT Party has done in New Zealand, which is if you go back 2 or 3 elections in New Zealand, there was a whole motley crew of little right-wing parties. But now that's all sort of coalesced around, well, most of it, into the Libertarian Party. And now they've got something like 11 members of Parliament out of 120. Looks like they're going to be the next cabinet. So this is what we want to, we believe that the Libertarian Party, which is a proudly ideological party, we don't just sort of read the paper in the morning and think, oh, what are we going to talk about today? This is what's on the front page. No, we look at everything through a simple ideology of what makes the government smaller and therefore what will make citizens bigger.
Well, John, thank you so much for your work being a lonely voice crying in the wilderness there in the New South Wales Parliament. Hopefully, over the next few election cycles, state and federal, we can see exactly that play out. Full disclosure, I used to be a member of the Liberal Democratic Party, which is the former guise of the Libertarian Party. They've since rebranded. So full disclosure, there is that relationship there. I'm certainly ideologically aligned, and I share your vision, and I hope to see that happen in the future. John, thank you so much for coming on the Aussie Wire.
Great to see you, Topher.